Hey there everyone, it's TJ from tjsreef, and you might be able to figure out that we are not in my house. In fact, we are in San Francisco, California at Pier 39, and you're wondering why would tjsreef be out at Pier 39? Because today we're going to visit the Aquarium of the Bay. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of tjsreef. And yeah, we are doing something a little different. We are visiting an aquarium here in San Francisco, the Aquarium of the Bay. And I have to tell you, I truly enjoyed this aquarium. What you're seeing right now is outside the aquarium, looking over the San Francisco Bay. You have Alcatraz out there, you have the Golden Gate Bridge, and you have this amazing area with shops and restaurants and things to see and do down on Fisherman's Wharf. This aquarium kind of took me by surprise. I didn't think it was going to be as nice as it was, and then I found out the research and the rate of investment on every dollar you spend there. 85 cents of every dollar goes back into the care of the animals in this aquarium and into San Francisco Bay, which is great. Now, when you first walk in, you are hit smack in the face with an amazing exhibit of fish and corals and other inverts from the San Francisco Bay. Here we have sardines. Off to the right, you have kelp and anemones. And in the distance, we'll see in a minute, you see an actual tropical reef. I think they did just, to kind of please the people coming through. But remember, all of these exhibits kind of demonstrate the San Francisco Bay. So this is a colder water, a 55 degree Fahrenheit environment for these inhabitants, which is pretty different than what we usually see in our tropical reefs. They had a lot of information on sharks and shark attacks. They talked about if there are shark attacks in San Francisco Bay, if there's anything you have to worry about. They had a lot of really cool interactive exhibits. And then just the aquariums that they had were just so well kept. Such a great display of all of these animals that looked very healthy, I have to say. I didn't see any nuisance issues, any pest issues. Here's my wife, she's fallen in love with these eels, which, I mean, can you blame her? But you've got these, live kelp plants in these aquariums. Almost every tank had some type of anemone, and there are a lot of different types of anemones in the Bay Area in the cold water. Some extremely large starfish, all types of filter feeders, worms. There's it looks like a goby in the background. These are all different types of cold water anemones that you saw throughout the exhibit. Now this tank here, obviously more anemones, was kind of, showing the kelp and the growth on areas underneath, let's say, a dock or something like that, had wooden legs in the water for the anemones to grow on. They had the kelp under there, and they had the fish swimming around it. Again, very realistic. They did have some fake barnacles and things like that in there, but otherwise it looked great. And then this is the only tropical reef tank in the entire building. Everything else is the cold water for the San Francisco Bay, but they did have this, and it looked great. I have to be honest, the colors weren't amazing. The health of the tank looked great, but the colors were a little subdued. I'm guessing their lighting was a little on the whiter side, so there weren't a whole lot of blues, but it still looked very healthy and was really nice to see in there. Now, one thing that kind of was a theme throughout this visit was, I think this aquarium has some of the laziest fish I have ever seen in my life. You just saw one fish just laying there. I think there's another one here laying in a piece of kelp. Yeah, there he is. And you're going to see some footage later of fish just laying on the edges staring at people. I found it absolutely hilarious that these fish just kind of sit around and people watch. So it was just an interesting observation. They did have a great learning area regarding pollution in the oceans, and then they actually made kind of a neat exhibit out of trash items, something I had never seen before. And I apologize for the reflection of myself in the glass, and for those of you who have tried before, it's hard getting video footage in front of giant glass aquariums. And then you move into the first of several glass tunnels where you walk under the water through these amazing exhibits. Now, this one was filled with all different types of animals from the Bay Area. A lot of sharks, a lot of schooling fish you see there, sturgeon, some rays. There's one swimming overhead. Just amazing animals, very active, all looked very healthy. The tank was clean. There wasn't any concern for the animals, in my opinion. I felt that everything was being taken care of greatly, and that made me feel really good about spending the money and going to see this aquarium, was the health of these animals and the care that they're seeing. This aquarium's got about 700,000 gallons of water in their system, and they recirculate it out of the aquarium in and out of San Francisco Bay. So you have actual seawater being used to keep these tanks refreshed and clean. There's a beautiful sturgeon right there in the middle, along with a shark swimming across the top. They use about 50,000 pounds of food a year to feed all their animals, including this octopus that you saw in the corner there. This was a really great exhibit because it had an octopus, or a couple of them, and they had these jars hanging in the tank for them to try to discover and see if they would go in. Now, this tank had fish called lump suckers, and I had never seen anything like this. It's a fish with feet and a suction cup on their underside so they can stick themselves to the rocks and the walls. They are the most ridiculous looking things I have ever seen, and if they weren't cold water and hard to keep, I would have them because they're absolutely amazing. They are called lump suckers. Do your research. They're awesome. So you kind of have this pattern of moving out of a tunnel into an exhibit area and then into another tunnel, rinse and repeat. So this is that first exhibit area after that first tunnel, and then you move into the next tunnel, and like I said, lazy fish abound. You almost have to just make sure they're alive. But yeah, you've got your lazy fish, and then you just keep on walking through these gorgeous tunnels surrounded by kelp and all different types of fish. And I was completely taken in. This scene where you're walking basically under a dock, they've got the wooden legs, they have the pier, the wooden pier above you, and this fish, which is massive. I don't even know what it is. I forgot. I apologize, but this fish was huge and just amazing. And then you move into my favorite part the Jellyfish Exhibit. This was amazing. I was actually taken aback. My wife has mentioned jellyfish tanks in the past, and it was absolutely stunning. The video you're watching is very true to life to what we saw while we were walking through this, and I think the best thing to do at this point is just kind of sit back for a second and let you take it all in here. These jellyfish here are known as upside-down jellyfish, and that's because, unlike regular jellyfish, these ones kind of swim towards the sides and the bottom. That what you saw there is what they were supposed to be doing. At first I thought there was something wrong, but reading the little display, nope, that's what they're supposed to do. And the Jellyfish Exhibit just keeps going. They have this kind of neat ultraviolet light room, and even the colors in these kind of more ordinary jellyfish was extremely vivid. It was just kind of mesmerizing watching them pulsate and float around the tanks. I highly recommend it. As you near the last part of the aquarium, they do move on to some tide pool or bay areas, and also some land-dwelling animals you're going to see here. So this is their touch pool, and unfortunately, due to COVID, it is still closed. You got to remember, California just kind of opened up recently to allow people back in due to COVID, and yeah, you see masks everywhere. We had to wear masks. It was spaced out. The times are spaced out, so it's all timed entry. But yeah, unfortunately, the tide pool touch exhibit was closed. The stingray touch exhibit was closed. They did have this amazing tide pool here, and that waterfall you see is actually on a timer, so it actually surges like a real tide pool would. So it turns on and off. Starfish, anemones, fish, you name it. They have everything in here. Just a great looking exhibit. And then my wife, of course, fell in love with this little guy. This was the last exhibit before you enter the gift shop, and what a character. There are two of them in there. This was the one that was swimming around, and they had a massive exhibit for these two guys. Tons of water, tons of land for them to burrow in. He had something in the tree trunk in the water there that he was digging out. But what you're seeing here is the last exhibit of the aquarium, and they have a really nice area for these two, I believe they're otters, before you enter the gift shop area. And that is going to wrap it up for this tour of the Bay Aquarium. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on this kind of special episode of TJ's Reef. I really hope you enjoyed the tour of the Bay Aquarium, and I recommend it definitely. You should visit this aquarium if you are ever in San Francisco. Extremely well taken care of. 85 cents of every dollar you spend there goes back into it to care for the animals, and I had a blast. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get the opportunity to head out there and enjoy it yourself, and stay tuned for another episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, boom to the aquarium.